Hey, it's the 10th of March, 2018. It's been a while, but I had a grievance. I was reading the story where the mayor of Salinas, Joe Gunter, was complaining that police officers in Monterey potentially gave bus passes to four homeless people, put them on an MST bus, and sent them on a one-way trip to Salinas. And he doesn't want Salinas to be seen as a homeless hub or a hub for homelessness, however it was written. I'll link the KSBW story below. But you have to take into consideration that a number of the resources that homeless people will tend to need are in Salinas. You have the food bank over there, you have a number of homeless shelters, things you don't necessarily have in Monterey. There's feedings and so forth in Monterey that occur on a regular basis. There's a couple of local businesses that'll, pass out food, and other services are provided, but not to the level that they are in Salinas. So if somebody's in Monterey, and God knows how they got there, they probably traveling up and down the coast. So I was kind of wondering why Monterey's handing out bus passes at all for people that come from San Francisco or Portland or San Diego or LA, and they're traveling. They managed to get that far, but they can't manage to get to Salinas. They're gonna go to Salinas because that's where the food is, basically. You have if you go around Salinas and you find shopping centers with a bunch of homeless people, it's typically because they have a dumpster that's regularly supplied with past date food and so forth, and they just go through and dig through it and make a mess and get whatever it is that they need. Or they go to the donation stations and they dig through those and they take clothes and whatever other merchandise they think they might be able to sell on the street for narcotics. Not all, but some. But your medical services, a lot of them are over in Salinas. Most everything is in Salinas. All the county offices that you might want to get to, they're in Salinas. There's a few here in Monterey, but on a much smaller scale. But Joe Gunter suggesting it's a homeless hub, or he doesn't want it to be seen as a homeless hub. I'm kind of questioning then why you allowed homeless people to camp on City Hall's lawn for 4 months in 2016. That's kind of like your homeless hub central at that point in time. But the other thing that kind of struck me was that if it's wrong for the city of Monterey or police officers in Monterey to hand out bus passes to people so that they can get to the resources that they need, why is it then a positive for you to give each of those individuals $10 so that they can get on a bus and go back to Monterey? If it's wrong, it's wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. The idea that Monterey is doing this for nefarious purposes, I don't see that, because I've always seen the cops on the street in Monterey. They're trying to make contact with these people. One, they find out who they are, what they're all about, get an idea of who they're dealing with, and then they are going around and giving people motel rooms to stay in and so forth so that they can get off the street when they're freezing their asses off in the wintertime. They are giving them information that they need so that they can maybe survive on the streets to a little bit better degree than they otherwise would. But everything is in Salinas, and you either have to come to terms with that and deal with it, and or deal with your homeless population, one way or the other. If you cut off the food, they will go somewhere else and they will look for other venues when the resources dry up. But if you keep providing homeless shelters, which Salinas has a whole bunch of, and you keep providing food banks and so on and so forth, and there's nothing wrong with being charitable, but that's all part of the process. If you offer these things, that's where people are going to go. Anyways, I'm glad KSBW ran the story. I'd like to see some follow-up on it in the media. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I see people on the streets on a daily basis. Last night I had this mentally ill woman running up to people and screaming and yelling. I've had a crazy crack addict, you could see in one of my videos, throw boulders at me, and Salinas PD did nothing about it. It's assault with a deadly weapon. They did nothing about it. She was actually holding a boulder in her hand when the police officer arrived, and you know, the size of a softball, she's throwing these rocks at me. But you know, it's crazy out there, and they're not doing anything about it. I don't think they can afford, or they have the capacity to figure out what to do. But you know, you can always blame Monterey for sending homeless people over your direction. And one of the other ones is there's a number of homeless people that I've seen in Monterey, but they end up getting arrested for drugs or for theft or sexual assaults or whatever it is they were arrested for. They end up in Salinas County, going to county jail. County jail releases them a couple of days later. They're back on the street. They either manage to make their way back to Monterey, or they just get fed up with it and they just stay on the streets of Salinas. So, you know, maybe you want to close the jail down too, or move it to King City or something. But that's all part of the problem. Why don't you deal with the problem, Mayor Gunter, and stop blaming other people for the shortcomings of your municipality? Peace.